Hi everybody, this is Carla with Cobweb Corner and welcome to episode 2 of Sampler Sunday. If you missed the first episode, this is a kind of interlude in between my main floss tube videos where I'm just going to pull, today I have 10 samplers to show you and try to show you some things that you might not have seen before, give you a little bit of background if the designer provided that, and just kind of share our love of samplers in general. So I hope you enjoy it. Before I start, I apologize for the bad lighting. My craft room where I normally do my videos is being redone and I'm not able to be in there for a while. So I'm kind of sitting in front of the piano and we don't have great lighting. And before I go too far, a lot of people have asked me, hi Bo, a lot of people have asked me about the design behind me. This design is cross stitch and it was stitched by my best friend who is my daughter's godmother, and it was stitched for my daughter's graduation from high school in 2012, and it's from a Leinart pattern called Butterfly Fairies. I have had that chart in stock a few times, but it usually sells right away, but you never know, I might get it back in again. I never know what I'm going to get when I buy store stock or stock from collections from individuals, but that's what that is. It's beautiful. My friend doesn't stitch anymore because of severe rheumatoid arthritis, but she just did a stunning job on that piece. So that is Butterfly Fairies by Leinart. All right, I've got 10 samplers to show you, and the first one is a reproduction sampler, but the designer doesn't give any information on it. Other than to say a special thank you to Dottie Stevens for allowing me to reproduce this charming sampler. And the title of the sampler is Nancy Garish 1828, and it is published by Hillside Samplings in 2002. Okay, I'm back. I'm trying to adjust the lighting for you guys a little bit. I'm really sorry it's so dark, but we'll get it to work. So this is a reproduction sampler from 1828, and it is just a set of different alphabets. So, and then it says wrought by Nancy Garish, member of the school in Newcastle, December the 11th, 1828. And this particular sampler is, let's see what the size is, 204 stitches wide by 133 stitches tall, and it is the threads given are DMC and needlepoint silk conversions, and there are a number of specialty stitches in there. So that is Nancy Garish 1828. The next one is, I have quite a bit of information on this one. This is one of my favorites. This is the Mary Queen of Scots sampler by Papillon Creations. And they give a lot of information. So I'm going to read this section to you. The story behind the sampler. Crowned Queen of Scotland at only 7 days old, Mary Queen of Scots acceded to the French throne as Queen Consort at the tender age of 16. Widowed only a year later, she was also the rightful heir to the English throne, and her troubled life makes her one of the most romantic and tragic figures in British history. This sampler reflects one of the happier periods of her life, her many years in luxurious French court. While in France, she was educated to a high standard along with the French royal children. Her education is represented in the upper part of the sampler by a beautiful Renaissance-style alphabet. In the lower section of the sampler, Mary is pictured with a hunting bird in her hand. So there's the Renaissance alphabet, and then there's Mary with a hunting bird in her hand. She was skilled at hunting and spent a lot of time hunting in the grounds of the Royal Chateau of Chambord, represented at the bottom left of the sampler. So let's see, bottom left is right there. Mary was also a skilled embroiderer, and the mule floor background was a common feature of tapestries and embroideries of the time. She is depicted facing the Unicorn of Scotland, where she was forced to return after the tragic death of her young husband, which made her return to her country of birth, which made the return to her country of birth inevitable. The cold and draughty castles of Scotland are depicted in the bottom right of the sampler. With its lack of luxury and etiquette, a people who were rough and often barbaric and many political struggles to face, Scotland must have been a great shock to her. The central ship represents her journey between the two lifestyles. So there's the ship going between Scotland and France. On Mary's left is the thistle, emblem of Scotland, and underneath it is a crown representing her title as Queen of Scots. To the right of the unicorn is the fleur-de-lis emblem of France, and underneath it is a crown representing her title as Queen of France. In the center is the Tudor rose, emblem of England, above which is a crown representing Mary's right to the English throne. It was this claim which led her to her capture, imprisonment, and subsequent beheading at the hands of Queen Elizabeth I of England. "In my end is my beginning" is the poignant motto at the base of the sampler. It is said to have reminded her of her mother's emblem, the phoenix, which on the sampler flanked the motto. It was a motto that Mary loved so much that she had it embroidered in her cloth of state. So, trying to find the... So there's the motto, and there are the phoenix. So I absolutely love this sampler because of the detailed description of what's behind the sampler. It's just beautiful. So that one is Mary, Queen of Scots by Papillon Creations. The next one is by Trishia Kogut, and it's called Heaven and Nature. And most of you, if you're familiar with Trishia Kogut, she is very well known for her primitive designs. And she is an artist. She has paintings and a lot of punch needle. And quite a few years ago, she started doing cross stitch. And then last year, I don't know, within the last 15 months, I think, she started giving us some samplers. And she has just done a beautiful, beautiful job. So this is not a reproduction sampler. This is a sampler by Trishia Kogut, and it just says, "Let Heaven and Nature Sing." And it's got a number of unique motifs. It's got the deer down here with an owl, and then up here is a raccoon, and then it's got the variety of floral motifs and the cherub and the large house in the middle, and then just this beautiful border. So this one was stitched 1/2 on 40 count linen with a finished size of 14 1/4 by 18 inches, and the stitch count is 284 wide by 360 high, and it was stitched with a variety of classic colorworks, DMC, and mostly Weeks dye works, with DMC conversion provided. So she says the variegation in the over-dyed threads give the finished sampler a unique look. However, I do my best to give the closest match DMC. The next one I chose is an older, quite old. It's 1993. It's from Sam Cloth Designs, and it's one of a number of samplers that I have that just talk about stitching and love of stitching. And this is a band sampler with the alphabet, and then it says pearls and lace, linens and silks, a needle worker's riches. And that, the picture itself is not really in that great of focus. So this one's got a few specialty stitches, not very many. And let's see, it has instructions for every band. There are 23 different bands. Trying to get a stitch count. It's 54 stitches wide by 131 stitches high. And it was stitched with Soie d'Alger and Crarion Collection water lilies with beadwork. There's 2 dark rose and white beads. So that's a quite a bit older one, but really, really cute. Okay, the next one I picked is not a sampler per se, but it's my most unique designs that I like. It's called Betsy's House. I'm just going to show it to you first. So it's definitely got some sampler indications there, but it's it says about the design, and this is by Needles Notion. And the designer is Letty Ekberg, and she designed this in 2014. It says, this pastoral sampler scene features a yellow brick house perched on top of an alphabet hill. Instructions are included to finish Betsy's house as either a flat-backed piece for display or a sewing caddy with felt pockets to hold needlework tools. Easy finishing instructions are also included for the Betsy doll. So there's a small picture of, you could either finish this just flat and frame it or do what you want with it, or you can make it into a needlework case with these beautiful, there's a folded pocket, place for scissors. Sorry. So I thought that was really unique. And that's called Betsy's House by Needle Notion. The next one is a Moira Blackburn reproduction chart, and it's called Elizabeth Oliver. And I'm going to read the phrase to you. It's called the Hour of Prayer. Hail, peaceful hour, supremely blessed, amid the hour of earthly care, the hour that yields the spirit rest, that sacred hour, the hour of prayer. And when my hours of prayer are past, oh, may I leave these Sabbath days to find eternity at last, a never-ending hour of praise. And isn't that beautiful? Now, a lot of samplers, reproduction samplers, have religious inspired text in them. And some people don't like that, but it's really, really beautiful. And this one is, let's see, it's 364 stitches wide by 400 stitches high, and it was stitched on, where does it say? It does not say. It was stitched with DMC floss, and it doesn't give the fabric on the outside here. That is just really beautiful. And Moira Blackburn just has some stunning samplers. All right, the next one I chose is not a reproduction sampler. This is a modern sampler, and it is by Lila's Studio. Let's see what the date is here. She doesn't have a date. And I really like this one too. It's called With Thy Needle. I'm going to read the verse to you. Flowers, plants, and fishes, beasts, birds, flies, and bees, hills, dales, plains, pastures, skies, seas, rivers, and trees. There's nothing near at hand or farthest sought, but with the needle may be shaped and wrought. So, and then it gives a depiction of each of those things. So you've got the seas, the countryside, people, all kinds of different things, the fish and the animals, and then these beautiful, beautiful flower motifs on the sides. And then when it talks about the beasts and stuff. So it's just a really neat way, beautiful depiction of saying, you know, you can recreate anything with needle and thread. And that one is 326 stitches wide by 146 high, and it was stitched on Belfast linen 32 count smoky white, and it was stitched with DMC floss. So that is With Thy Needle by Lila's Studio. Next one is a personal favorite. I just love this sampler. It's by Rosewood Manor. It's called Leeds House Sampler, and I'm going to read the verse to you. It says, may the raindrops fall lightly on your brow. May the soft winds freshen your spirit. May the sunshine brighten your heart. May the burdens of the day rest lightly upon you. And may God enfold you in the mantle of his love. And look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And she has just a quick note back here. It says, the colors used in this sampler from the fabric to the floss reminds me of the castle grounds in Leeds, England. The garden was filled with bluebells the day we visited. And I love the ornate alphabet and just this circular representation of this garden here. It's just beautiful colors. So this one is 170 stitches by 270, and it was stitched on Picture This Plus Cashel 28 count helix. And it was stitched with sulky petites, one spool of each color. And I do not see a DMC conversion for that. And that is from 2018, so that's not very old. That's just really beautiful. That's one of my all-time favorites. The next one is by Plum Street Samplers, and this is a reproduction sampler. I don't remember them doing a lot of reproductions. This one's called the 1837 Crown Sampler, and it is from 2013. That's the sampler. All these different flower motifs along here. Really, really beautiful, a beautiful border. And I'll read the verse. It says, Jesus, permit thy sacred name to stand as the first effort of an infant's hand. And while her fingers on the canvas move, engage her tender thoughts to all thy love. And the reason I'm hesitating is because there's a number of spelling errors in there, and I'll get to that in a minute. Among thy children let her have a part, and write thy name thyself upon her heart. And this one says has a special note. All, quote, errors in this reproduction were intentional, copied as the original stitcher had them. Pay special attention to the border and placement of each motif, as there are irregularities in spacing. And there's a picture of the original. So, isn't that beautiful? 1837 Crown Sampler by Plum Street Samplers. And the last one I have is, I think, the most unique sampler in my inventory, and it is called the Bathya circa 1680 Reversible English Band Sampler by Hands Across the Sea. And that is the front and back. This is absolutely stunning. So it says, this beautiful reversible band sampler has been reproduced with Overa Soie d'Alger silks based on the vibrant colors found in the front of the sampler today. The skein quantities have been calculated based on one strand on 36 count fabric. Of DMC and needlepoint silks conversion are also below. Please refer to our website for additional AVAS conversion. We have not specified a particular brand or color of linen. However, the original sampler was executed on uneven linen that is closest in color to the DMC shade 3782. It says the sampler was reversibly stitched over 2 and 3 threads, which that would be hard right there. I don't think I've ever gone over 3 threads. The stitches include 2 different versions of reversible cross stitch. One forms a cross on the reverse with a vertical stitch on the left, and the other a four-sided stitch on the reverse. Bathya also used double back stitch and diagonal double back stitch. These stitches appear plated from the front and as 2 parallel rows of back stitch on the reverse. You might know them as closed herringbone. So this is something I don't think I could ever take on. It's absolutely stunning. Oh, let's see what else it says here. It says, Bathya Sampler. You cannot work a stitch for the first time and expect to produce a perfect result. You have to first understand the mechanics of the stitch, then practice so that you can stitch without even thinking, so it becomes second nature. For those that have learned to play a musical instrument, you will understand stitches are the scales and exercise of embroidery. An understanding of the stitch paths is an essential foundation for mastering the art. You have to put practice time in to get results out. It takes time and dedication to achieve the highest level of skill. In the high-end couture studios, embroiderers have often trained for 4 to 5 years before they are able to work on a saleable garment. Before embarking on your needlework journey, it is always a good idea to make yourself proficient in the basic stitches such as cross, running, and satin stitch, all made up of short straight stitches. You can then progress and start experimenting with stitches that are more complex. Mastering the stem stitch will open up many wonderful samplers for you to stitch. There are many variations of traditional techniques. Don't be afraid to try different methods. It is important to feel comfortable in the way you execute your needlework. We each develop our own way of doing things. Nicola. Isn't that awesome? So that is it for today's episode. Again, I really apologize for my horrible lighting. I probably should redo this video, but I just don't have the energy to do that. So I hope you enjoy the series, and I will be putting out a regular floss tube video soon. This week I had no time to enter new inventory into my database, onto my shop, and so I didn't have anything new to show. So happy stitching, everybody. Let me know what you think about the series below. Bye-bye.